Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Vijana Vallabha Giribhara Dhari Vijana Vallabha Giribhara Dhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giribhara Dhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giribhara Dhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotara Shata Shishimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotara Shata Shishimad His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Dai Gaura Premanandi. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to Shishi Guru and Shigo Ranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 8, Withdrawal of the Cosmic Creation. Chapter 5, the demigods appear to the Lord for protection. Text number 6. Tasyanu katito. Tasyanu katito. Gunascha paramodaya. Bhauman renu sabhimane. Jo Vishnur varnajet gunam. Tasya nubhavakatito. Gunascha paramodaya. Bhauman renun sabhimane. Jo Vishnur varnajet gunam. Tasya nubhavakatito. Gunascha paramodaya. Bhauman renun sabhimane. Jo Vishnur varnajet gunam. Chan. Tasya of the Supreme Personality of Godhead appearing as Vaikuntha. Anubhava, great activities. Kathita, were explained. Guna, transcendental qualities. Cha, also. Parama Udaya, greatly glorious. Bhauman, earthly. Renum, particles. Saha, someone. Bhimane, can count. Jaha, such persons. Vishnu, of Lord Vishnu. Varnayet, can count. Gunam, the transcendental qualities. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Although the great activities and transcendental qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's various incarnations are wonderfully described, sometimes we are unable to understand them. Yet, everything is possible for Lord Vishnu. If one could count the atoms of the universe, then he could count the qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But no one can count the atoms of the universe, nor can anyone count the transcendental qualities of the Lord. Purport. The glorious activities referred in this connection took place after his personal bodyguards, Jai and Vijay, became Daitas, having been cursed by the great sages Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanat Kumar, and Sananda. Jai, as Hiranyaksha, have to fight Varahadev, and the same Varahadev is mentioned in regard to the Raivata millennium. The fighting, however, took place during the reign of the first Manu, Swayambhuva. Therefore, according to some authorities, there are two Varahas. According to others, however, Varaha appeared during the regime of Swayambhuva Manu and stayed in the water until that of Raivata Manu. Some may doubt that this could be possible, but the answer is that everything is possible. If one could count the atoms within the universe, one could count the qualities of Lord Vishnu, but the atoms of the universe are impossible for anyone to count. And similarly, no one can count the transcendental qualities of the Lord. Tasyānubhāvakātīto gunascha paramodhaya bauman renun sabhimane ya vishnor varnaye gunam. Although the great activities and transcendental qualities of the Supreme Personality of God's various incarnations are wonderfully described, sometimes we're unable to understand them. Yet, everything is possible for Lord Vishnu. If one could count the atoms of the universe, then he could count the qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But no one can count the atoms of the universe, nor can anyone count the transcendental qualities of the Lord. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ummilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatyadi Satarine Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyasha Kripa Sindhu Vyaevacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. So, a new chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, we just heard a very exciting narration of the deliverance of Gajendra, and previous to that we heard the narration of Prahlad Maharaj and Nrsingadev, etc., Hiranyakashipu. Now, this chapter also is going to introduce us to another amazing pastime that, if we're talking about inconceivable and pretty out there to actually imagine to happen, this one is probably one of the top ones, which is the churning of the ocean of milk. In this pastime, I think there's several incarnations simultaneously, incarnations of the Lord simultaneously happening. So it's quite something. And then there's so many great personalities that comes. Anyway, it's tremendous. So very exciting to, get into this part too. It's almost, there's no end to the excitement of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's like the best. So some of the things that I describe here is the inconceivable feature of the Lord and his inconceivable qualities or countless qualities. But something that is not simple to understand is how the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original Personality of Godhead, Krishna, he expanded himself into unlimited incarnations, expansions of expansions, in order to perform different pastimes, different things in relationship to this world and also to the spiritual world. It is explained in the first canto by Srila Sukadeva Goswami that the incarnations of the Lord in this world is they're unlimited, just like the waves of the ocean. They're constantly coming, and you can count them. They're constantly there. So the Lord interacts with this material world like in an unlimited manner. It's constantly interacting with the material world. And simultaneously and in so many levels, he's completely involved in this material creation. And when the Lord comes to this material creation, the term is used, avatar. Avatar is in Sanskrit means he who descends, or one who descends. So the translation of avatar that Prabhupada used, but he also qualifies it, because we use the term incarnation, and incarnation is not exactly perfectly defined, the word avatar. Incarnation comes from the Latin word that is to enter into flesh. In Latin, in Spanish is carnal, which is flesh. So Spanish is very coming from Latin. So to enter into flesh is not what happened when the Supreme Personality of Godhead descends. The incarnation is more related to the Judeo-Christian tradition, to the sort of divine Jesus, Lord Jesus. But for Krishna and Krishna's expansions, Krishna's avatar is not exactly that. Well, it's actually not that, because Krishna doesn't take, his incarnations don't take a material form. These forms are not material. They're not flesh and bones and things like that ours. It's not made of material elements. He comes, he manifests himself in his spiritual forms. These are spiritual forms. And even in the situations in which the Lord manifests a material form, this is not like the material forms of regular living entities, conditioned souls that is here. It's completely different. There is in the past times when Lord Krishna conclude his pastimes in the world. After Dwarka disappears and everything, in the 11th canto we hear how Krishna left this world. So it's very bewildering. He actually left a body, and the explanation is that he did that in order to reciprocate with atheistic people, if one can understand that. I mean, I really don't understand it fully, but something that it goes a little over my head. But Krishna did leave a body. The pastime was that he was performing, when he was ready to leave, he instructed Uddhava and then sent Uddhava away, and he entered into meditation to get ready to leave. And then somehow or other, there is some hunter that came, and he confused Krishna with some creature and shot an arrow to Krishna. And that arrow pierces Krishna's thumb in his lotus feet. The thumb, no? The thumb. Huh? Or heel. Well, somewhere in his feet, So he pierced his feet, okay, his heel. Or, I sort of remember it was, something in his... But, and just didn't do anything, just pierced it there, and then Krishna left his body. So he just ascended to the spiritual world. When him, the whole, it is explained that all religious principles, everything follows after him. And then that body that was pierced by it remained like that, sitting, with an arrow in his, heel or his feet. So that's different too. It's not, although it is explained that it's something similar to the deities. Although we see form, and we see that it's made of, matter. It could be wood, it could be stone, it could be metal. However, it's a different thing. It's not, it's fully spiritual. And how is that possible? Well, for Vishnu, everything is possible. It is his energy, ultimately. So Krishna has the capacity to switch from matter to spirit. Well, how is that? Well, we see it too in materialistic people. The Prabhupada explains, it's just like someone has, a machine that controls. Sometimes it makes electricity to create heat. Sometimes it makes electricity to create air condition or cold, like that, just by a switch. So similarly, Krishna can switch, by his will. So therefore, his material energy becomes spiritual. Like, when he touches prasadam when he accepts the bhoga offer, then that plate, once he accepts it, once he takes it, then it becomes fully spiritualized. It's the same, you put the samosa before the offering in the plate, and you receive back the samosa, and it looks the same thing. You have you have the potato, you have the peas and the thing, but before it was material, after is spiritual. Okay, so how Krishna does that? Well, he does it. That's why Krishna is the supreme. So he's able to do that. So back to the whole thing, the word. So incarnation is not a proper term. Krishna is inconceivable, and he's able to manifest. When he comes to the world, he enters, but he's never touched by the material energy. So it is explained. Lord Chaitanya explains it, that there's 6 different types of avatars or so-called incarnations. 6. And the first one is the Purusha avatars. Then there's the Lila avatars. Then there's the Guna avatars. There's the Manvantara avatars. the Yuga avatars, and the Shaktivesh avatars. These are explained by Lord Chaitanya. Now, unlimited incarnations that you cannot count, and they divided further into these 6. And then Lord Chaitanya gets even more technical, and there's further levels and divisions of Krishna's expansions, and some, will be according to his emotional manifestations. Some are more like utilitarians, Anyway, it gets very, very technical in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And specifically, you can read very much, a whole detailed summary of the incarnations in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. It's a book of Srila Prabhupada that he wrote. And I read it once, and I think that whole thing went over my head. So I can sort of, it gets so technical and so confusing that, for me, I fall into this explanation that, is here in the verse, that you can, if I can count the atoms of the universe, maybe I can understand, So, but that's not possible. So these are in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, you find this in the discussion that Lord Chaitanya has with Srila Sanatana Goswami. He gets into a very detailed explanation of these things, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya to Srila Sanatana Goswami. And the Purusha avatars are the first ones that are described by Lord Chaitanya. And the Purusha avatars are the manifestation of the Lord that have to do with creating the whole, material world. So, the first Purusha avatar is Lord Mahavishnu, also known as Karuna Dakshai Vishnu. And this is expansions of the Lord for the purpose of the creation of the material world. So we know that Lord Mahavishnu, Karuna Dakshai Vishnu, he lies in the ocean, in the Kosha ocean, and this Kosha ocean is also called the Virata River. And it is explained that it divides the spiritual creation with the material creation. The material creation is only 1/4 of the whole creation of the Lord. 3/4 is spiritual, 1/4 is material. And then there's like a division, or, So the dividing area is this ocean or river. And the Lord is sort of submerged in this ocean. And the ocean is called the Karuna, Karuna ocean, or which means, the Karuna means for the purpose of creation, like that. And submerged in there, the Lord also manifests this. It's called the Mahatattva, which is the sum material manifestation. Nothing is there, but it's just the sum total of the material manifestation. And then that sum total is compared to a womb. And then he impregnates with his side the living entities into the womb of the material creation. And then it is explained that also as he's submerged, from the pores of his body, then a universe are manifested in the form of little seeds. And then these seeds enter into the womb of the Mahatattva, and then they immediately start to, get covered by some of the elements of the Mahatattva, and then these covers create like a eggshell things. And the covers explain that each covering of the material elements is 10 times bigger than the other one. So it really gets huge. And then, so each one of these seeds becomes, like a universe. And Lord Mahavishnu expands into each universe as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And from his perspiration, each universe fills half with the water of his perspiration. And that water body is called Garbha ocean. So he lies in this Garbha ocean in the bed of Shesha, Ananta Shesha. And so he's called Garbha Dakshaya Vishnu. So the Vishnu who lies in the Garbha ocean. And from his navel, then a lotus flower comes. And then from the lotus flower, the first living entity is manifested, Lord Brahma. And we heard the story. Lord Brahma didn't know what to do. He tried to find out what is the source of these lotus flowers that he's sitting. But as he's coming down the step, he never reached any, he couldn't, he just kept going, and same thing, darkness, nothing. So when he decided to give up, the attempt to know what's the source of the lotus flower, he started to climb back, and he hears the word tapa. He meditated, so he took that instruction, austerity, and he performed meditations for 1,000 celestial years. 1,000 celestial years is explained that is one day in earth is 6 months in how you go? No. One day in one celestial day equals to 6 months in earth. So it will be 6 months times 30 times 12. So 30, putting an average of 30 days per month. So 6 times 30 times 12 times 1,000. So that's the amount of years from this earthly perspective that Lord Brahma performed meditation. At the end of the meditation, then Krishna became pleased. He appeared to Lord Brahma. He manifested, or he gave an interest to understand, the whole spiritual creation, and then shook Brahman's hand, and from that Brahman became fully enlightened and was able to perform his service. And then the Lord also enters into the heart of every living entity and into every atom as Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, or the Kshirodakshaya Vishnu also is very inconceivable. It's the Paramatma, but although the Paramatma is present in every atom and in the heart of every living entity, he is also present in his own planet, which is a spiritual planet within this material universe. And that planet is called Svetadvip. And actually the Svetadvip realm is an island that is surrounded by an ocean of milk. Therefore, he's called Kshirodakshai Vishnu, who resides in this ocean of milk. And so those are the Purusha avatars. 3. Karunadakshai Vishnu, Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and Kshirodakshai Vishnu. And then we have the Lila avatars. The Lila avatars is the incarnations of the Lord to perform pastimes. And these pastimes, these Lila avatars, they could also be considered within the other, divisions of avatars. So some of them can be Shakti-avesh, some of them can be Lila, some of them can be Yuga avatars, like that. But it's explained that the Lila avatars are pastime avatars. So the Lord manifests different forms for the performance of pastime. It's explained that in one day of Brahma, which is also known as a kalpa, one day of Brahma is 1,000 cycles of yugas. So we know that there's 4 yugas. Those 4 yugas, 1,000 times of those 4 yugas is one kalpa. And that's comprised the day of Lord Brahma. Not the night, just the day. So roughly 12 hours of Lord Brahma is one kalpa. So it's explained that in one kalpa of Lord Brahma, there are 25 Lila avatars. Now we hear sometimes the Dasa avatar. The Dasa avatars, they're all Lila avatars too, but they're the most famous of these Lila avatars. But what Lord Chaitanya discusses with Srila Sanatana Goswami is that there are 25 of them. And I'm going to mention them, and there's all the 25. There's some of them, again, that are the most celebrated, Matsya, Naranarajan, Varaha, Balaram, like that. So the first one is the 4 Kumaras. And the 4 Kumaras are considered Lila avatars of the Lord, but they're also categorized as Shakti-avesh avatar. They're living entities who've been empowered by the Lord with a particular potency of the Lord to perform an activity just like the Lord. So the 4 Kumaras, they were empowered with the Lord's Jnana Shakti. So Jnana Shakti, the knowledge Shakti of the Lord, are manifested in the 4 Kumaras. And the second one, Narada Muni. Narada Muni, also a son of Lord Brahma, just like the Kumaras, and he's empowered with the Bhakti Shakti. He's also a Shakti-avesh avatar, a living entity empowered with Bhakti Shakti of the Lord. And the third is Varahadeva, which we hear, in the purport, Prabhupada is referring to Lord Varaha. And he says that Lord Varaha is a Lila avatar, is actually directly the Supreme Personality of God. And he appears in 2 different millenniums, as Prabhupada explains, that in some parts of the scriptures is described that he appears in the millennium of Swayambhuva Manu, and to rescue the earth, from the bottom of the ocean. And it is explained that Lord Varaha is white, the white incarnation of Lord Varaha. And then he also appeared during the millennium of Chakshusha Manu, which is what is being described here. And that incarnation, it says that is red in color of Lord Varaha. And sometimes it's explained that, that it's the same Lord Varaha, but is manifested, these two different features of colors. And sometimes it says that, that the rescue of the earth happened in Swayambhuva Manus, and then the killing of Hiranyaksha is described sometimes that happens during Chakshusha Manu. So some of the explanations that I hear, that again goes over my head. I can understand fully. One thing that you can accept is inconceivable. One of the things that I heard that explains the different versions is that, there is different universes too, that the narrations of the Srimad Bhagavatam have to do with sometimes different universe or different manifestations of the Lord in different times and different places like that. Fourth is Matsya, the fish incarnation. And we hear that Lord Matsya came to, during the devastation, partial devastation, and then he protected the Vedas and all the living entities, including Maharaj Satyavrata, which is the personality who actually served Lord Matsya. Then is Yagya. We hear of Yagya in the previous narration. Yagya, who is the son of Prajapati, Ruchi, and Akuti. And he was during the period of Swayambhuva Manu, as we hear it before the narrations of the narration of Gajendra, that this was described, that because there was no qualified Indra, then Yagya took the position of Indra. So Yagya, and then the sixth is Naranarayan, which is the twin sons of King Dharma and Murti. And this Naranarayan Rishi, they exhibit the supreme renunciation of the personality of Godhead, and they also explain that is the Lord manifestation as Krishna and Arjuna was present, came and manifested themselves also as Naranarayan. Kapila Dev is the following one, 7, the son of Kardama Muni and Devahuti. And Lord Kapila Dev is famous because he explains, in great detail the Sankhya philosophy and the science of devotional service to Mother Devahuti. Dattatreya is 8th, the son of Atri Muni and Anusuya. And he is a combined incarnation of Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva, and Lord Brahma. It's nice pastimes, that Anusuya Mata was so ecstatic when she saw the Lord that she asked 3 times the Lord, if he can appear as his son, and then the Lord, gave him the blessings that he will appear in these 3 guna avatars. So, so Lord Vishnu, Lord Brahma, and Lord Shiva combined to appear as Dattatreya. And then there's Lord Hayagriva, is the ninth. Lord Hayagriva is a horse incarnation that he appeared to kill a demon who was ignorance, actually took a form, the personified ignorance took a form of this demon, and then he stole the Vedas and took it to some hellish planet, the Rasatala planet. So Lord Brahma prayed to the Lord Vishnu to appear, and Lord Vishnu appeared as Hayagriva, and then restore the Vedas and kill this demon. And then there's the Hamsa incarnation, which is a swan incarnation, and the Hamsa incarnation came to help. Part of the pastime is that Lord Brahma, he became, there was, part of the pastime, Lord Brahma has some bewilderment and he couldn't answer questions that were presented in front of him by his sons, and at that time the Lord appeared as a swan to answer those questions. So the Hamsa incarnation. Prishnigarva is the form of Lord Vishnu that appeared to Dhruva Maharaj, and he's the one who gave Dhruva Maharaj the Dhruva Loka, and he also accepted being in Dhruva Loka. So Prishnigarva. And then there's Rishabha, which is the son of King Nabi and Merodevi. Rishabh Maharaj was the oldest son of Bharat Maharaj, the planet is named as the Bharat Maharaj. And his instructions are very relevant to brahmacharis, the instructions of Rishabdev. He instructed his sons in the life of, brahmacharya. So when there's a study, the brahmacharya's study, what's the instructions for brahmachari life, this is one of the important parts of the Bhagavatam that, is a study. Rishabdev's instructions. The instructions of tapasya. King Prithu is a manifestation of the Lord's ruling potency. So he's a Shakti Avesh avatar also. And he was manifested from the body of King Venu, who was a very nasty king that was killed by the Brahmanas. He was so bad that the Brahmanas came together, the Brahmanas of earth, and decided we have to get rid of this guy. So he just cursed him, and then he just died. But then they have to put a king. So they actually, from the body of King Venu, the dead body, then the Prithu Maharaj came and he ruled. And he ruled, just like the Lord will rule. And Nrsingadev is a 14, and we know the story of Nrsingadev is most dear to the devotees. And 15 is Kurma, which we're going to hear, in this part of the Bhagavatam, the tortoise incarnation that he was the one who allowed the churning of the ocean of milk to actually bring, there's several things what we brought. What we hear the whole pastime, but the idea was to produce this nectar of immortality. And anyways, such an amazing pastime. And then Dhanvantari, who also appear in this pastime. So there's several incarnations that appear in this churning of the ocean. Dhanvantari, he was the one that appears with that nectar of immortality. And also, Lord Dhanvantari is the father of Ayurveda. So the science of medicine comes from Lord Dhanvantari. And then, in this same pastime, during the same, then the Lord appears as Mohini, the Mohini incarnation, which is the Lord formed as a beautiful woman. So it was the ultimate beauty of a woman. It was so bewildering that even Lord Shiva, Lord Shiva is perfectly, supremely controlled. Just by seeing Mohini Murti, he just went nuts. He's starting to chase after Mohini Murti. So she came, and he also, the pastime of Mohini was that she tricked the demons not to take this nectar of immortality. So just by her beauty, she bewildered the demons, and she was able to save the whole universe from the demons being empowered by this nectar of immortality. And then there's Vamanadev, the dwarf incarnation, the son of Kasyapa Muni and Aditi. And we know that Vamanadev, he was able to deliver Bali Maharaj and also save the whole demigods from the ruling of the demons. So Lord Vamanadev took everything from Bali Maharaj, who was the king of the demons. Bali Maharaj was a grandson of Prahlad Maharaj, so in that line. And then there's Parshuram, Brigupati, son of Jamadagni, Muni and Renuka. Lord Parshuram, he kills 21 generations of Kshatriyas. He just didn't spare anyone. So he carries an axe and just keep killing Kshatriyas until, the whole thing got completely purified. 21 times. And then there is Lord Ramachandra, the 20th. And Lord Ramachandra, we know the beautiful stories of Lord Ramachandra and the Ramayan, son of King Dasarath and Kaushalya. And Lord Ramachandra, he exhibits, the passing of a perfect being, and a perfect human being, and a perfect king. Then the 21st is Vyasadeva, the son of Parasara Muni and Satyavati. And he is the one who divides the Vedas and compiles the Vedas. 22 is Lord Balaram, the first plenary expansion of the Lord. And 23 is Lord Krishna, his original form, Swayam Prakash, or Swayam Rupa, the original form of the personality of Godhead. The 24 is Lord Buddha, and the 25th is Kalki. So those are, Kalki will appear, Lord Buddha already appeared. Lord Buddha is considered also a Shakti-Avesh avatar. And Kalki, Lord Kalki comes at the end of Kali Yuga, and he wipes all the demons, all the miscreants. He just wiped the whole thing clean. And after that, the next Satya Yuga and the next cycle starts again. We almost finished on time. Guna avatars is Lord Shiva, Lord Vishnu, Lord Brahma, and Lord Shiva. Lord Vishnu, so the Guna avatars, they control the three modes of nature. Guna is for the modes of nature. So the mode of goodness is Lord Vishnu. The mode of passion is Lord Brahma. And the mode of ignorance is controlled by Lord Shiva. So In the mode of goodness, Lord Vishnu is the maintainer. In the mode of passion, Lord Brahma is the creator. And in the mode of ignorance, Lord Shiva is the destroyer. So in these constant cycles of manifestation of the material creation, then these three personalities are there controlling that. The creative power is Lord Brahma, the destroying is Lord Shiva, and then in the middle, maintaining everything, is Lord Vishnu. And then we have the Manvantara avatars, which is what we're hearing right now. That's what Parikshit Maharaj asked Sukadev Goswami. Tell me about, in the beginning of Canto 8, tell me about all the Manus and the different incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, during the reigns of its Manus. So these are the manifestation of the Personality of Godhead that appears during the range of each Manu. They're called Manvantara avatars. So there are 14 Manus in one day of Brahma. So remember, one day of Brahma is a kalpa, 1,000 cycles of yuga. You divide that into 14, and that's a reign of a Manu. In each reign of a Manu, then a personality of Godhead or an incarnation appears as the Manvantara avatar. So we hear that during the reign of the Swayambhuva Manu, which was the first Manu, the avatar that appeared was Jagya. And Jagya became, took the pose of Indra because there was not a proper, personality there that do that. And then, so each of the 14 Manus will have one personality. Like right now, there has been already Sukadev Goswami already described Swayambhuva Manu, Swarochisha Manu, Uttama Manu, Tamasa Manu, and now we are in Raivata Manu and Chakshusha Manu. So these are the ones that he's describing right now in this chapter, Raivata and Chakshusha. So during Swayambhuma was Jagya, during Swasorchisha was Vipu, during Uttama was Satyashena, during Tamasa was Hari. Hari was the one that came and rescued Gajendra. And now Raivata is Vaikunta. We just heard what did Vaikunta did. He created a Vaikunta planet, in this region, in this material world, by the request of his mother. And Chakshusha, then we're going to hear. Chakshusha is the next one that is coming, and then the incarnation will be Ajita, and Ajita is the manifestation of the Lord that takes the form of a tortoise and perform, the kurma, avatar pastime. The next Manu as the Chakshusha is Vaishvashata Manu, and Vaishvashata Manu is the one we living in the millennium of right now of Vaishvashata Manu. This is the Manu that is ruling the universe in our time right now. And during Vaishvashata Manu, the avatar, the Manvantara avatar was Vamana, and so on. It will continue like that. So those are the Manvantaras. And then there's the Yuga avatars, which is 4. In each Yuga, there's an avatar, and the main function of this Yuga avatar is to establish the Yuga Dharma for that, or the religious practice or principle for that particular Yuga. So there's 4 Yugas, so there's 4 Yuga avatars. So in Satya Yuga, the incarnation of God is white in color. In Tetra Yuga, he's red. In Dwapara Yuga, he's blackish. And in Kali Yuga, he is of the color yellowish or golden. And so specifically, we know Lord Chaitanya to be one of the Yuga avatars. As he comes to establish the Yuga Dharma, which is chanting of the holy names. And finally, you have the Shaktiavesh avatars, which is empowered personalities, living entities that are empowered with a particular potency of the Lord to perform an activity. And those are mainly the Kumaras, Narada, Prithu, Parshuram, Lord Buddha. We hear from, in our Vaishnava line, someone like Srila Prabhupada is also being considered a Shaktiavesh avatar in terms of performing the activity. To be able to perform such an activity is naturally fully empowered by the potency of the Lord. So these are Shaktiavesh avatars. Important thing for recognizing an avatar, and that falls into all these categories, is that it has to be specified in the scriptures. There's no such a thing of, he's an avatar for by popular vote. Some group of people, consider, he is an avatar, like that. You have to be backed up by a scriptural reference. And that's, some may say, well, you're doing something similar with Srila Prabhupada, because he is your founder, Acharya, so where is the scriptural reference of Prabhupada's? There's there. And that's something that has been found, in the scriptures of, the teachings of our acharyas. Specifically, there's a narration given by Lokanath Das Goswami, in which there's a conversation between Queen Rukmini, Narada Muni, narrating a conversation of Krishna with Queen Rukmini, in which he explains that in Kali Yuga he will come and explaining how he will come as Lord Chaitanya, and then he will also send his Senapati Bhakta. Senapati Bhakta means his general commander Bhakta, to actually go and express this message or this chanting of the holy names all over the world. So, who's that? Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So you recognize an avatar by scriptural reference. You have to be in the scripture. And then, then we can talk about, accepting you like that. So I stop here. Any comments or questions? Anyway, I'm going to, before taking questions, although you can study this more carefully, I'm giving you a synopsis from my limited perspective. And again, this is some of the parts that when it gets really technical, it's getting a little over my head. So I'm going to have that, how you say claim? When you say, you put the, a disclaimer. Right.
I have two questions. Hare Krishna, thank you for your class. My first question is, what is an avadut? I've heard we've heard it, but
an avadut describes it's a saintly person, or is a perfected being that acts. They have no act is not limited by social conventions. He acts, as far as social conventions, the person is crazy. He just acts completely crazy. It's like a madman, yeah. No conventions for social rules and regulations and things like that. And it's a perfected being that acts like that. The famous Avadhuta example is Lord Nityananda. And Lord Nityananda, Haridas Thakur will go crazy going with Lord Nityananda because, he's, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Speaking of perfected being, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But it's not like Krishna. Krishna is concerned. Krishna says, like whatever a great person do, you have to do your duties, So Krishna is concerned with social things. You have to give the example. Lord Nityananda, he would jump into, he would give with Haridas Thakur, and Haridas Thakur, he say, he's in constant anxiety going out with Nityananda. Please don't send me with him. He Chaitanya. He acts completely crazy. He jumps into the Ganges and starts to play with the crocodiles, and then he is in anxiety, and then he is just playing with the crocodiles. He goes into some dark place, some bar, and things like that. Anyway, he does all kinds of crazy things. So he's Avadhuta, Nityananda. So a saintly person who has, with no regards to conventions or social conventions or rules and regulations.
And so, for example, in Kali Yuga, Lord Chaitanya came, but his body, we were talking about it before, his body is completely spiritual. So how is it that some beings, we can't see spirit. So some living entities can't see spirit, they're too covered over. So how is it that some living entities can see Lord Chaitanya, and they have spiritual vision, they can see, and then other living entities don't see, maybe can see him, but see him as just a regular person, as he's got flesh and bones.
Yeah, so that's what he appears to be material, but it's not. So it's the inconceivable potency of the Lord, and the fact is that it's like those say, the divine nature of his appearance and activities. To understand that is actually to, then, if you fully understand that in truth, tattva, then you're ready, you're finished, you're ready for going back home, back to Godhead. So it's inconceivable potencies. Like I say, he can switch, he can allow you to see, so like we see in the deities, everybody sees the deities, but who understands the deities? How much we understand the deities. And we see in them, they're fully spiritual. If we go beyond this material covering and our eyes finally are opened by the salve of bhakti, of, premanjana churito, the salve of love of Godhead, prema, then Krishna, will see him playing his flute and dancing like the descriptions of Srila Jiva Goswami worshipping Shishira Damodar, and then he's dressing Damodar, and Damodar is playing flute and dancing, and then he's like, please stand up quietly so I can dress you, and there's Damodar just dancing and playing. So that's the deity. So same, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Krishna, same principle. We see, everybody saw him, but people have different, according to their different levels of consciousness, they were able to see him in a certain way. The example, when Krishna enters the arena of Kamsa, all the inhabitants of Mathura, they will see him, there's explanation that will see him in different ways. The Brahmanas will see him as, the effulgence, the Brahma Jyoti, the source of the Brahma Jyoti. The Kansa was seeing him as death personified. The cowherd boys were seeing as the most beloved friend. Like that. So many different people were seen different ways. So, according to all right. Anything else? Marcel, Prabhu? Question?
You mentioned that the 4 Kumaras, was it like in particular one of the 4, or was it all 4 an avatar of Krishna?
All 4.
Yeah. What was contradicting in my mind, that because the story that I've heard of the 4 Kumaras are that they flew and they found Vaikuntha and they weren't allowed to get in, so Vishnu had to come directly to let them in. And is that when they how did they realize, or when did they kind of understand that they were actually an avatar of Krishna, or Krishna? They always knew it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's part of the pastime. It's several of those personalities, like Lord Buddha, he was a prince, and it was at a particular time of his pastime that he came, the whole thing came manifested. So it's part of the pastime, that the Lord manifests, is for teaching something and to make a point. The Kumaras, they're the Gyan power of the Lord. So to manifest the full extent of that Jnana power, they have to come. They were perfect Brahman realized personalities. But, to go to the next part, that's when they, when they had the full realization of the absolute truth, which is Bhagavan, that happens when they came into contact with the Lord. So, and that's the end of all jnana. Jnana van man prapadyante. The end of jnana, the end result of jnana, or the top, the final stage of jnana is Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Krishna is everything. So that was that pastime. So it's usually pretty well scripted, to just show that particular potency.
I see. Thank you very much.
All right. Karantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.